one film that was interesting last week was there was a trailer for a documentary for a Goofy movie called "Not Just a Goof," which is a lyric from After Today when Max says, "Plus some bars and it proves that I'm not just a goof." Sorry if I embarrassed you, but um, and I watched the documentary after watching a Goofy movie and Bad Boys, which because both of them turned 30 years old today. Of course, I wasn't born when those movies came out, but still, I love those movies, especially when a Goofy movie. So I watched not just a Goof just recently, just now. And honestly, really loved it. I don't watch a lot of documentaries. I have some with like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four documentary, the Pixar Story documentary during 2020. I watched the Deadpool and Wolverine Marvel Assemble documentary back in November. But I don't watch a lot of documentaries. I've never been interested in those. But in this exception, I wanted to see it. And I loved it. I really loved not only because it's a documentary that tells about the story about the development of a Goofy movie, but this movie is a love letter to the fans who love a Goofy movie, modern, and even maybe not just maybe young from the 90s, but probably most recent like me, because I'll get to that later. But I really was so this movie is basically, as you expected, a documentary that were the people who worked on the movie, like Kevin, who's the director of the movie, who would direct Tarzan, and he was inspired by the Jungle Book to become a filmmaker at Disney. And this was apparently his directional debut after working in several Disney films like The Little Mermaid and 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 apparently the film has some issues with Jeffrey Katzenberg because apparently he wanted for some reason Steve Martin to voice Goofy in his normal voice. But that didn't work out when Bill Farmer recorded the whole movie with his normal voice, not the goofy voice. Um, and that didn't work out, thankfully. Um, I also love. No, I'll get to that later. But then there was like a black dot that happened during the film, a screening, with Jeffrey Katzenberg, and then they had to rework the movie, and but they were not angry with it because Kevin said that they were glad they took their time to make the movie and finish it. Um, but then later they had some issues with Mike as when Jeffrey Katzenberg was fired from Disney and was replaced by Michael Eisner as the Disney chairman. And but then it got released on April 7th, 1995, to surprisingly negative reviews and financial disappointment. It reminds me a lot of Die Hard, where I heard that the movie apparently didn't do great with people when it first came out, but later years it became one of the greatest action movies and one of the greatest Christmas movie of all time. And it's kind of like this: the Goofy movie didn't do well with critics, even with Roger Ebert, who felt like there was a lot of This movie took a lot of '90s stuff, just with Goofy in it. Uh, and Gene Siskel agreed with it. But then a few years later, especially with the D23 and several YouTubers talking about it, including Double Toasted and several other YouTubers reviewing the movie, how much they loved it, how great of a movie it is about exploring the theme about father and son relationships, is actually a very, very powerful moment. Actually, kind of a heartwarming moment how the movie started off not doing well, but received a huge fan base, and several people were doing the eye to eye dance throughout YouTube and TikTok, and people were cosplaying as Roxanne and of course Powerline. It's amazing how the film went from to. I think that's very awesome. Because I had loved a Goofy movie, and I also was fascinated how some parts of the documentary, specifically with Jeffrey Katzenberg, they showed some of the parts from when the movie's development and penned drawn animation, which I thought that was a pretty interesting move. And also when Christopher's flashback with his parents and first time watching the Goofy movie and how much it impacted his life, it was a very emotional moment to cause it really shows how a big fan he was and he still is. And Christopher, who is the kind of who tells narrates who is the interviews Kevin in the documentary, and so overall I think not just the Goof is a welcome recommendation for people who love documentaries and for people who love a Goofy movie who wants to watch it for its 30th anniversary. um and some of the other people that were telling about how it was going on with the production of the movie, both and the present, like right now interviews, and like because they show some footage of like when the film was in development, like in the 1995 and 1993, with some interviews. Um, I do think it's a very emotional and very well done documentary and a amazing way to celebrate the 30th anniversary of a Disney classic. And it's good to see Bill Farmer and Jason Marsden in this documentary as well. And yeah, so overall, what are you guys' thoughts on not just the Goof, the documentary if you watched it, and of course a Goofy movie? And comments below. And what's your favorite song of a Goofy movie? To me, it's Eye to Eye and After Today. Those are my two jams. Though a lot of people say it stand out. But happy 30th anniversary to a Goofy movie.